The Glory is a South Korean live-action drama series on Netflix that follows a young woman who seeks to get revenge on a group of classmates who bullied and abused her when they were teenagers. It's a dark, engrossing story revealing the trauma of abuse and the cruelty that damaged people exact on each other. In this video, we'll look at how the drama crafts compelling characters, especially in one of the antagonists, Park Yeon-jin. As a disclaimer, there will be spoilers to the story, so I highly recommend watching The Glory. This analysis video is based on the character arc of Park Yeon-jin as seen in the first 8 episodes. Here's a quick overview of the story. We start in the early 2000s when a young teenager named Moon Dong-un is being bullied by a group of privileged students, including the ringleader, Park Yeon-jin. It's very disturbing to watch these early scenes where Dong-un is helplessly abused by these horrendous teenagers, being burned by a hair-curling iron, physically beaten, and emotionally humiliated over and over. Dong-un eventually drops out of school and then launches into a long-term plan to get revenge on her perpetrators by pursuing a college education, getting trained as a teacher, supporting herself financially, and then landing a job as the teacher of Park Yeon-jin's young daughter. Dong-un lays the groundwork for elaborate plans to manipulate the group of friends who once abused her, preying on their weaknesses and turning them against each other. Believing that she's damaged beyond repair and that there's no hope for her in this life, Dong-un is driven to punish Park Yeon-jin and the other bullies in their present-day adult lives. I looked at Park Yeon-jin, the lead bully, and started to examine what makes up the internal life of this character. For example, what is Yeon-jin's series objective? Does she have internal contradictions in her needs and desires that make her compelling to watch? Why is she more complicated than the typical stereotype of a bully? Referencing Judith Weston's techniques from directing actors, I started to focus on Yeon-jin's series objective. This is the core need that drives her throughout the story, and it can exist beyond the events that we see in the scenes. Yeon-jin has a core need to always be above everyone else. She has to be in control and at the top of the food chain. From early scenes set in the 2000s, we see that teenage Yeon-jin dreams of becoming a wife and a mother and having a desirable job and life. When we see the adult version of her, she has achieved all of this. She's married to a wealthy CEO. She has a lovable young daughter, and they live in a beautiful home, while she works as a popular news weather forecaster. By all accounts, on the surface, Yeon-jin has the ultimate dream life. But Yeon-jin constantly is driven to abuse and push down others around her to assert her dominance. She can never rest on her laurels. At her work, she frequently manipulates and shames her support staff and competing weather forecasters. Among her friend group, she humiliates air stewardess Haejong for her lower economic and social status. So in order to pursue this core need to maintain dominance, Yeon-jin uses multiple tactics. In order to get submission or deference from the other characters, she targets, she shames, humiliates, abuses, dresses down, categorizes, and wounds her targets. These are all action verbs that I thought of when studying the scenes she's in. From an acting approach, these action verbs work for her character since there's a emotional or physical reaction that Yeon-jin wants to get out of the other characters. I think it's possible that Yeon-jin hides a deep sense of shame, or she's driven by a feeling that she's never enough. When we see her with her mother, she's often meeker and appears to be humiliated by her mom. In the acting approach, I could see how Yeon-jin may have a competing series objective or core need to win her mother's approval and to get rid of this shame. She buries it by covering it with her need to assert dominance over other characters. Another way to analyze her is to look at revealing relationships with other characters. 2 key relationships come to mind: her marriage with CEO Do-young and her relationship with her daughter, Ye-sol. These are 2 relationships in Yeon-jin's world where she doesn't actively abuse the other person. However, there still is some emotional manipulation at play. Every scene that Yeon-jin has with her husband, Do-young, seems like a negotiation. She wants to get her way with him, and she uses her sex appeal or buffets his ego to sway his decision-making or to get his attention. So she controls her husband with these different tactics. At one point, she wants her husband to buy more advertising time at her news channel via his construction company, which would benefit her contract negotiations. At another point, she tries to convince him to send their daughter to boarding school to get her away from Dong-un. As the series progresses, we start to see her husband maneuver away from her influence when he starts to investigate what happened during Yeon-jin's teenage years and how the protagonist Dong-un was involved. The other relationship we'll look at is with Yeon-jin's daughter, Ye-sol. Yeon-jin treats her bright, bubbly daughter as an extension of herself. She tenderly cares for and protects the little girl, giving her all that their wealthy lifestyle can offer. This contrast between Yeon-jin's bully nature and her tender-hearted maternal nature toward her daughter makes Yeon-jin compelling. We see two different sides of a person that somehow coexist within her. There's something disturbing with how quickly Yeonjin can value one person over another simply by her own willpower. She can dismiss and belittle Dong-un and the air stewardess Haejong. In the next instant, Yeonjin can be very loving to her daughter without seeming disturbed by any cruel behavior she showed to others. If we look further into Yeonjin's perspective, she probably believes that she has the power to determine a person's value, as seen and judged through her eyes. This might reveal further clues about her core need to assert her dominance. But her daughter is also Yeonjin's greatest weakness. We have never seen Yeonjin more threatened when she discovers that Dong-un has become Yesol's homeroom teacher. Yeonjin genuinely believes that Dong-un might kill her daughter after she learns that one of their old high school teachers died through mysterious circumstances that could be tied to Dong-un's plans. Suddenly, Yeonjin is on the defensive, and her carefully crafted perfect life could come crashing down. Fearing for her daughter's safety, Yeonjin slowly becomes unhinged as she cannot control the circumstances around her as Dong-un unveils her plan for revenge. Because Dong-un is a strong character, her drive puts pressure on Yeonjin, revealing her flaws as she stumbles and reacts to the changing dynamics. This change in scenario helps to make Yeonjin a compelling character. Now we're seeing the tables turned on the lead bully. The victim, Dong-un, has trapped Yeonjin, and we're asking this dramatic question, what's going to happen to Yeonjin? How is she going to get out of this trap? But it's Yeonjin's core need to assert her dominance above all costs that pushes through by the end of episode 8. When Yeonjin discovers the apartment where Dong-un has set up her photos and plans for revenge, Yeonjin confesses that she slipped up. She should have killed Dong-un instead of letting her get away. It remains to be seen how Yeonjin's arc will play out in the final episodes of the series, but we can see her character reaching a turning point at the end of episode 8. She's willing to kill to keep pursuing her core need. While the first 8 episodes of The Glory is about the journey of the protagonist Dong-un, the arc for antagonist Yeonjin is just as compelling and gripping. Her personal drive to get what she wants is awe-inspiring, although her methods and core character are cruel.